Hi, good morning again. And I'm thinking a lot about how learning from home, distance learning, is how it's so different from learning in school. I think learning in school is a little bit like this chimp in this laboratory.
And finally, from us here on the webcast today, a story that might cause some of you to question whether or not we human beings really are here on. Japanese researchers created an intelligence test that pitted humans against chimps. And in the end, we look like chumps. Here's Bill Blakemore.
First test. Can chimpanzees count from 1 to 9 in the right order in return for a peanut or other tasty reward? Yes, they can. Now, if you just flash the 9 numerals for a moment, then cover them, can a chimpanzee remember where each numeral was and still get the order they were in right?
It's fast.
Yes, for another tasty treat. This chimp got this wrong once, but thought nothing of it, and undaunted, went right back to getting them all.
Growth mindset right there.
Now, if you flash just some of the 9 numerals, then cover them, can a chimp A, remember where each was, and B, in the right order, even though some were missing? Yes. Slowing down not one bit. And note, chimps can also eat and memorize at the same time.
So can you.
Not only that, if right after the numerals are flashed, the chimpanzee is then distracted, say by some monkey business over to the right off camera, or perhaps by another good-looking chimpanzee, and then returns to it, no
A
problem.
good-looking chimpanzee.
Just keep the goodies coming. Now, can another primate species, the adult Homo sapien, do the same? Well, okay. And again? Again? Again?
Not looking good for the Homo sapiens.
One more try? Well, okay. But actually, chimpanzees did much better than humans in this flash and remember test, leaving the Japanese human researchers scratching their heads. One possible theory, chimpanzees care more than humans about peanuts.
Huh. That's debatable. So, in this video, the chimp is in a lab or kind of a classroom. The chimp's doing a task, like a student, for peanuts. And it made me scratch my head. How are grades different from peanuts? Now look, the goal of education, the goal of learning is to discover, create new things, and to solve relevant problems. And I wonder, do we have that mindset in school? And if not, maybe distance learning is a place where we can begin to grow that mindset of really learning, discovering, and creating things and solving problems that are relevant to us. And are you asking questions in this time away from school that help build your understanding of the world? I think that the scientists who made this experiment were interested in gaining new perspectives into thinking in general. I don't think that they were just interested in comparing who can count faster, the chimp or the human being. It's a race, and whoever wins, we have the answer. They're probably after some deeper questions. Things like, do primates have a natural understanding of numbers? Or what part of the brain does counting take place in? Or how does sequence influence primate survival? Or what stage of human development in the brain did sequential memory take place? I mean, big questions like that, questions that lead to bigger questions. Each time a question leads to a new picture of the world, a new understanding, that's called learning. So, we're learning to ask some big questions. And I want you to learn and to be hungry for something more than grades, for more than peanuts, because, guys and girls, you're asking questions so that you can solve problems in life. So, as a teacher, I'm hungry to know about why we had such a wide opportunity gap in Seattle. Now, so many white families in Seattle believe in civil rights. this is like a hub of progressive thinking, then why is Seattle at the bottom of the nation? So many families, white families, have lawn signs that say Black Lives Matter. And the majority of adults in Seattle believe 100% in civil rights and Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. And yet, there's a problem that is not going away. Well, why isn't this problem going away? Why has it been with us so long? What are some of the causes, and what are some of the solutions that were offered in the civil rights movement? These are my big questions, and it reminds me of last week when I came up with 3 questions about Martin Luther King. One of which was, if King hadn't been assassinated, would his nonviolence movement have achieved success? Now, last week you came up with your own topics. Oh, that's right. You came up with your own topics. Great topics. Topics you're genuinely interested in. And what's more, you came up with really powerful questions. Not questions that were yes or no, that could be answered quickly, but questions that led deeper into the topic and help you get a grasp of what's at stake and what problems need to be solved. You're ready for the next step. You're ready to research. Hooray! Now, what is research? Research is not a quick Google search. It's not a task that you're doing for me. You're doing it to grow your own understanding about a topic. And by investigating in a topic of your choice, you're learning more about the world. So, what's research? Research is something we do to find out things in a systematic way in order to increase our knowledge. On regular life, it's easy to find out information, but to find out something complex and valuable, you have to do it slowly, systematically. And if you're not increasing your knowledge, you're really not researching. Because increasing your knowledge, learning, means you're establishing your very own conclusions based on evidence. So, today I'm going to teach you, I'm going to launch you on your research with 3 steps. Scan for some useful sites that are relevant to your question. Investigate and interpret the evidence, and then develop your own theories based on that evidence. So I'm selecting an essential question. If King wasn't killed, would nonviolence have eventually succeeded? And I'm going to create a synthesis chart. What's a synthesis chart? Well, first let me tell you what synthesis means. It means taking different ideas, combining them to develop a brand new idea. And that new idea is called learning. And you'll frame your learning as a theory about that responds to your essential question. Here's what your work this week is going to look like. It's going to be in the form of a chart. 4 over, 3 down. So in Microsoft Word, go to Insert Table, 4 over, 3 down. Your essential question is in this column. Write your question here. You're going to add a third source. You already have 2. You're going to look for a third one. Here's where you're putting your evidence, at least 2 pieces of evidence for each source. And here's where you do your analysis. Your analysis looks at the evidence and says how it helps you understand your essential question. And at the very bottom, write down your theory. What is your response to the essential question? What do you think? Why do you think so? So I typed in my essential question. I came up with a bunch of sources. I had to decide which ones really work. And I found 3. And then I created my chart. And it's a doozy. This is where I did a lot of thinking. This is where I combined, I gathered evidence. I underlined key parts of the evidence. I broke up the evidence by using ellipses, the 3 dots. I have 2 pieces of evidence for each one. And then my analysis. How did the evidence help me understand my essential question? This is where I did some thinking. This is where I did some learning and interpretation. And then below the chart, I wrote my theory. And here's my theory. My question was, if King wasn't killed, would nonviolence have eventually succeeded? Well, after all this evidence and analysis, I think King's method of nonviolence was important in drawing attention to injustice at the start of the civil rights movement. But it would not have been enough to create change around racial injustice in the long run, because white supremacy is so deeply rooted in the power structure of America. That's a good theory. What makes it a good theory, though? There are components to what I did here, moves I made that you can make too. Here's what makes a strong theory. A strong theory is not pro or con. It's not black or white. It's not my side's right, that side's wrong. A strong theory makes room for changes when you get new information, additions when you get new information or a new perspective added by either your own research or somebody else's opinion. A strong theory is not a fact, but an interpretation of multiple pieces of evidence, multiple facts, multiple data. A strong theory has nuance and perspective by recognizing this is a super complex topic. There's more going on than just a superficial response. And a strong theory includes a general justification of why you think so. Your fuller, more complete justification will be argued in a research paper. So here's your assignment. Create a synthesis chart. What the heck is that? Go away. What the heck again is that? Stop. Create a synthesis chart. 3 sources, 2 pieces of evidence for each chart, analysis, how your evidence helps you understand your essential question. So, guys and girls, we only meet once a week. There's a lot here in this PowerPoint. My best advice to you is to review this video on your own. I'm going to post it as a video on Schoology. Your synthesis chart is due in a week. I'm available for questions. Send me questions through Schoology or email. But what questions do you have right now? Let's just chat in the box. Thanks a lot.